All right, great. So today we'll be turning our attention to the financial models. Also part of screening models. You can use these ones to also come up with a project you want to embark on. So we have different methods, different models. You could also call them financial models. You could call them financial appraisal models. Okay, so you need to watch out for the word economic or financial, and that will tell you these are economic models or these are models that could help you understand the financial benefit. I'll introduce another type that goes beyond profit. You want to quantify value. We use the rule of value. I call it the rule of value. I've got 10 rules. We could talk about that later. PMI see this one of my rule as rule of value. PMI sees that as a principle. It calls it principle focus of value. You know this one already. So we need to look at value. And I love that one. You're not just looking at profit, we're also looking at value, what's flowing out, and quantify every bit for us to appreciate the value that will come out of the project. All right, so now let's look at the financial benefit. You could use the simple payback method. Very, very important. So you could use a simple payback method. Here, what the stakeholders are interested in with regards to selecting a project is when the project will pay itself back. So when you go to that panel and they are using simple payback as the main primary basis for investigating or screening the project, one question will come up, strong question: when will the project pay itself back? So you need to know the answer. We'll be looking at some examples. We have another one, which is the net present value. You're looking at the value of money, the value of money. So they want to see the value of the cash flows. You are telling them the project could make about 100 million after 10 years. Now they need to ask that question if you're using NPV. If you could make a profit of 100 million in the next 10 years, how much does that 100 million represent now? That would make them understand the true value of the 1 million Ghana cedis in 10 years. Some of us, we are praying to get 1 million Ghana cedis in 10 years. I know some of us are saving to basically raise 1 million Ghana cedis in 10 years' time. And we are thinking when we get 1 million Ghana cedis, we've arrived. We're good. Question you need to ask yourself is the 1 million that you are saving to get in the next 10 years, how much does it represent now? What is its true value now? Maybe that 1 million in 10 years represent 400,000. Okay, let me work it out for you. Let's do this. So we are looking at 1 million. I'll show you how this calculation is done. So 1 million. We divide by a discounting factor, 1 plus. Let's assume interest rate to be about 10% or 15%. It's high in Ghana, isn't it? So let's use like 15%. That was 0.15. 15%, I talked about it the other time, is 15 over 100. So you move, that would be 0.15. 20% is equal to 0.2. 50% is equal to 0.5. You need to know how you work out these ones. Okay, if you have calculation questions on these ones, you need to know how to work them out. And we divide by, we raise it up to the year. So raise to the power 10. Let's work it out together. Can somebody do it? 1 million divided by 1.15 raised to the power 10. What did you get? Great. So you saw this. We were saving, putting our money in the bank for 10 years, and we've done the calculations, we worked out the maths. In 10 years' time, we would get 1 million. We are excited about this. Now, if we were to bring it to the present value, 1 million in 10 years is equal to what 247,184 can do now. So we're looking at 1 million in 10 years as something big. You see the value now, not that big. I was even thinking we could get about 400. It's close to like 250. What can you do with 250,000? You can't build a house with 250,000. You can't buy a Porsche car with 250,000. You can't live on 250,000 for the rest of your life. So when you present it to the present value, you could see the worth of future cash flows. That's what the net present value is about. So if you are thinking of saving, getting 1 million in the next 10 years, we need to revise it. We need more money because it can't do much for us. All right, great. So that's what the net present value does. I think it made you feel some emotions. Emotions will bring long-term memory. That will help you remember this. Okay, so I'll show you how these ones are done again. The calculation will come back. So that is basically what you do. You look for discounting factors and you bring it discounted back to the present value so that you know the true value of the amount. Again, if you reverse it, money today is worth more. So 247 will be equal to 1 million in the next 10 years. That's another way you can also work it out. Internal rate of return, we also look at this. Usually I sometimes use the IRR. We have something called internal hurdle rate. Okay, we have the hurdle rate and we looking at beating the hurdle rate. Our hurdle rate is 15%. So every project that comes in should be able to beat the 15%. In terms of profitability, it should be able to beat the 15%. So if you work out the expenditure, how much you need to put in, profit should be about 15% of how much you are putting in. So if a project can't beat the 15%, we are not interested. That's what internal rate of return usually does. You set a benchmark and you work out the profit percent or profit percentage, then you compare that to the hurdle rate, and that could help you select on the project. Those that are below the hurdle rate may be rejected. Then we have the cost benefit analysis, quite popular. You can turn this one into a ratio, benefit cost ratio, BCR. So you look at the cost versus the benefit, then you work out the ratio, and it should be greater than 1. If it's less than 1, it's not good enough. PI index is a ratio as well, just like the cost or the BCR. So we look at the total cost versus the revenue, profit, how much we're looking at to get income, then we work out the profitability index, and that should also be equal to greater than 1. I won't do much details. I'll focus much on this and that. The rest, you don't need to worry your head over them. So for the index, if it's greater than 1, good. If it's less than 1, you reject it. So you have different projects. The one that has higher ratio is the one you go in for. If you are going with the ratio, the indices, PI and this BCR, internal rate, you're looking at the percentage that is higher than your hurdle rate. You can also use ROI, return on investment. That's also percentage driven. So the higher, the better. Simple payback is actually the opposite. All of them, the higher, the better. But for simple payback, the shorter, the better. So if you have a project and you've got different projects, you want to select, and one gives a payback period of 3 days or 3 years, what it means is when you put your money into that project, it will take 3 years to get your money back. The other one, the payback period is 5 years. What it means is when you put your money back, when you put your money into that project, it will take 5 years to get that money back. Now, question is, which one should you go for? If you are using simple payback period, you say the shorter, the better. So you pick the one with the payback period of 3 years. So that will be selected ahead of the one with the payback period of 5 years because we are using simple payback period. Okay, once you understand it, you could work out the merit and demerit. It could be that the one that will be paying itself back after 5 years could leave higher inflows after the break-even point. It could also be that the one that pays itself back that quick 3 years could leave smaller inflows after the payback period. We don't look at life after the payback period. We are not that interested in that. But when we do the MPV, we may have to look at life after the payback period, what inflows are coming in. And that could help us make a decision. But when we are using a simple payback, we're not looking at how much will be coming in after the break-even point. And it depends on the nature of the project, the industry, the organization, the risk appetite of your stakeholders. There are some people, they want to put their money into something and get a return real quick, get their money back and start making some profit. The shorter, the better, because they are scared anything could happen. So they want to see their money flowing back into their account. That is more important to them. And if they get some other profit, they are good. So that is the basis. Now we need to know how to work these ones to calculate the payback period. Let's use this example. There's a project, they've given you 200,000. So initial cash outlay investment is 200,000. And they are telling you, you could have a question on that, okay? They are telling you every year expected revenue will be 50,000. This is regular. So when the revenue is regular over a period, you could work out the simple payback or the payback period that easy using a formula. So here, all you have to do is to pick the initial cash outlay, divide by the regular income, and that will give you 4 years. $25 goes here, 4. That will give you 4 years. So that is how you calculate it. Usually you may have in this form. The other one, when the inflows are not regular, you may need a table to help you work these ones out. For example, if you are telling year 1 is 50,000, year 2 be 60,000, year 3 will be 50,000, year 4 will be 40,000. They are not regular, so you can't work out these ones that quick. You need to use a table. So you take the initial cash outlay and you keep subtracting. Okay, some of you might be that fast. You could add all of these ones, but you need to have the table to have the years. So it will be year 0, year 1, year 2. You keep subtracting till you get to the point where it turns positive. That's the payback period. Example is here. Example. So for project A, you put in 500,000. These were the revenue. The revenue is coming in. Year 0 is your current year. Okay, take note. Year 0, your current year. You put in 500,000. Year 1, so it's like you buying a bus at a cost of 500,000. That's the current year. So you work it out as year 0. Those of you who want to know how to prepare cash flow, I'm showing you this, so pay attention. So you want to buy a bus, and the customer wants to know when it will pay itself back. So you could put this in a table form. So this is your initial cash outlay. They gave you 500,000 for the bus, including maintenance and everything, registration and everything, 500,000. okay? Or you buy the bus 500,000. If you incur other expenses, so you are saying that year one, after taking out all the other expenses, because you need to maintain the bus, you need to buy fuel, you need to pay salaries, pay the driver, pay the mate, you carry out some maintenance, you could have issues with the tire, all these ones will come in. So they are saying after taking everything, this is the net cash flow. Net cash flow is basically the difference between your outflow and your inflow. So outflow minus inflow is equal to net cash flow. So see these ones as net cash flow. Okay, net cash flow. So after all the expense taken out, you have this left. So what do? You go to the next one, you deduct. So take the 50 from this. Year one, we're still not done. Look at the solution. So 500 year one, we take the 50 out of it. We are still not done. It's still negative 450. You look at the initial cash outlay as negative. We wait until it turns positive. So negative, then year two is 150,000. We earn 150,000 after taking all the expenses. We subtract from 450, we come down to 300. Then we come to year three, come down to this. So it will turn positive here. But in actual fact, it turned positive before year three. But if you have to approximate to round it up, we use payback period as year three, okay? But if you have to be technical, it would be somewhere here, 2.8 years. So but they don't ask you to do these ones. So don't worry, just work it out, get to the part where it turns positive, and that is your payback period, okay? You could run for project B and know the payback period. Project B is 4 years. It turned positive here. So if you look at this, the table you must say is year 5, but technically it happened year 4. Okay, but just going by the table, we use 5 years. All right. So you wouldn't be asked questions on these technical things. Remember, I said is modeled on simple calculations. So what you are interested in is something like this. They'll give you this, or the example I gave, they will give you the initial cash outlay, the total investment, and tell you the regular inflows. If the inflows are regular, they expect you to quickly calculate the payback period. That's easy. Use that formula. Initial cash outlay over the regular inflows. You divide and you do your calculation, you get your answer. So please take note. But they could also present something like this and ask you to select the ideal project based on payback period. So based on payback period, they'll be asking which project would you find ideal? Which one? You have mining project 4 years, real estate 7 years, bakery 3 years. Which one? Super. So when we are going with the payback period, the shorter, the better. And the bakery had the shortest payback period. So we go for that one.